Yes, that's what I want.
Not just your, okay, I said women.
No, maybe generality of women. In some cases, some men are more observant. It has to do with the person. Yes, a woman is a homemaker, right? So, because she's at home, she might naturally observe things, you know. But there are some men who are very, very observant, more observant than women.
Wow, beautiful. You know, when you come to the studio, I feel the love, I feel the connection between the two of you. You know, and you want to ask this question. You want to ask, what does it take to build that kind of rapport, that kind of, like, it's as if the two minds are connected. You know why I'm asking this question? I've seen the situation, someone I know. I mean, like, the husband is this way, the wife is this way. I mean, you go to the back, I remember we were hosting a particular party, and I was trying to help out, and I went to the back to meet the wife, and the wife is like, is that Masty talking? He talks too much. Is that Masty talking? Please go and tell him to stop. You know, and then we've known over the years that that's how they are, you know. So what does it take? I'm asking now because, like I said, I could feel the connection, I could see it happening, you know. So what does it take? And you are a marriage counselor as well. I must say that Pastor Mike Wangwa is a marriage counselor and he's also a writer. I probably would have to mention the book much later. I omitted that fact, but I'll get the facts before we go. So what does it take to really make that happen? Is it built in a week, in a month, in a year? Does it have a timeline?
Okay, I think the first thing is to marry your friend. Okay, marry your friend. Before we got married, she was my friend, you know. We talked about things. So, you know, it's not like you're married to a stranger. It's not like you're acting a movie. You know, when some people get married, it's like they're acting a movie, you know. And these things, they come naturally. You don't force them, you don't legislate them, you don't Bible them, you get. So
you don't Bible them.
You don't Bible them, you know. So when you just tell people, "Thus says the Lord," I want them to start shining teeth for each other automatically, it won't happen. So you need to, no matter what your religious orientation is, maybe you went through counseling and all that, maybe they saw vision for you that this is your wife, you still need to work on it. Marry your friend, marry someone who you can relate with, who you can laugh with, you know, someone who both of you won't take each other too seriously. Okay, we don't take each other too seriously. I tease her a lot and she does too, and I don't get offended, you know. If you tease some men and say, what, you don't have respect, don't know that I'm the chief of my village.
You have to kneel down,
yes,
to apologize.
No, I don't kneel down. But I apologize, I agree that one. Right, so that's it. So what do you have to say?
For me, I think the bedrock of any marriage or the success of any marriage lies in the hands of the couple, the ability to communicate effectively. Now, understanding that this is my other half. If a part of me is faulty or dysfunctional or in pain, what I need to do is to help that place heal properly. So if I understand that this is my half, I will not treat him badly, and we will communicate effectively and making the marriage work. That's our goal, and we don't die here. Like people say, we die here, but we're not dying here. We live here.
I understand.
Yeah, live here.
Yeah, you know, you talked about there's something you mentioned. You said be your friend, and that's the first step, more or less. And then you talked about communication. But I've seen situations where somebody was telling me, where we're discussing, and you're saying that a lot of married people started out as friends. After all, if they were not friends, they wouldn't get married. They started like, okay, I like this person, and they're trying to know the person, and they admire the person, and they were sitting there. Then how come by the time they get married 1 year, 2 years, they become like enemies, as if like you are the one responsible for my lack of progress. You are the one always making me angry. And you see the blame games coming, you know, just like that. And before you know it, the divorce is what it's next. They're like, this one hates me, this one. What do you think is responsible? 1 year, 2 years down the line, they're like enemies. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I understand what
so
you're
what
saying.
is responsible for that? So that people can avoid that kind of situation.
Okay, even though you marry your friend, okay, let me give you this illustration. It's like stoking fires. It's like when you put firewood on fire. Okay, the fire begins to burn the wood, and then somewhere along the line, it begins to die down. You need to keep blowing the fire.
You need to fan the embers.
Fan the embers, yes, so that the wood can keep burning.
Okay.
So relationships are just like that. You might just say, okay, yes, the fire was hot because people marry with fire. Fire, they burn their body, you understand? Both of you are on fire, you just get married. And you feel that fire is going to sustain you for the rest of the marriage. It's not going to work like that. You need to keep fanning the embers. You need to keep making effort. So I think it's that part a lot of people miss. You are friends at the beginning, but somewhere along the line, you allow things to begin to separate you. You allow that distance to begin to come in between you. Before you know, you find out you're married to a total stranger. So these things take time, okay? And you need to be deliberate about it.
This is Crystal.
All right, in my opinion, I think there's something that keeps the spark going. Something that you got attracted to in the first place. If you keep at it, it will help. It will help keep the marriage flame burning, like he rightly said. And another thing, a lot of people go into marriage thinking it's going to be all rosy. The truth is that marriage is an eye-opener. It's a complete package that comes with the good and the bad. So if you open it, whatever you see, you take. Now, there are challenges in marriage that people don't tell you about or you don't foresee. If you get to find out when you get there, what's the natural thing to do is to maybe be shocked and all that. Some people did not build enough shock absorbers to help them in the course of marriage. Now, I'll give you an example. Nobody tells you after marriage or before marriage that you are going to give birth to a child with special need, or you are going to be in a marriage for a particular number of years without giving birth to children. Now, these are things that could happen by no fault of any of the parties. It might just happen. It could be a natural occurrence in marriage. Then if it happens, are you well prepared enough to absorb this shock and make the best of it? So a lot of people go into marriage thinking marriage is a bed of roses, but there are also thorns on that bed of roses.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's what I said. Thank you so much. Well, if you're listening, the program is Couples Corner, and you, of course, on Rise 106.7. This is Lady Chi, and I have with me this beautiful couple. They've been here before. I know you're surprised. I didn't say all those. How was your journey like? You know, like that kind of romantic tales and all that. But today I didn't say that because they've been here before. They've talked all about how they started, you know, and here they are many years later and several children down the line. They are still together. Okay, so you're going to learn a lot. We're going to talk like it's real, you know, the way real, the way marriage is for real. And thankfully, the husband here, Pastor Mike Wangwa, is a marriage counselor. So it's probably there are one or two things that you can glean from today's program. And of course, he happens to be the writer of a book called "If Your Marriage Is Not Working, Work Your Marriage." Right? I got it right.
Yes,
that's his book, and it contains a lot of knowledge. And so you may want to check it out because it's fully loaded. I've checked it out, and maybe you can learn something from it. All right, so. Very, very interesting. I checked out your page, and I see always writing about your children. Having children is beautiful. It's a beautiful experience. But like I usually say, I talked with a couple last week, and I was saying, you know, having children comes with quite a number of challenges and quite a huge burden also on the relationship, so that if you're not careful, it may, it may cause something else. Because someone said, my children, I'll give 80%, and my husband, I'll give 20%. But that's what the person believes, and maybe that's what works for him. But I don't think so. I think it's just probably an expression. It may not correctly represent what the reality is. So what are some of the things? Like, I know children, beautiful, happiness, but what are the things you deal with normally when you start having children, and how do you handle it to be able to keep, we're talking about fanning the embers, keeping the love alive when you no longer have time? How do you handle it? What are the things you battle with, and how do you handle them?
Okay, who is starting? I think you should talk, eh? You want to talk first? Okay, when you have children, just like she said, when people get married, there are many things that you're not prepared for. Nobody tells you. But when you get children, from my experience, you have to deal with things like maybe a child falling sick suddenly. Maybe in the middle of the night. And then you have to take that child to the hospital. and all. You have to deal with children throwing tantrums, and then you being able to strike a balance between discipline and love. Okay, but in all, both of you need to be on the same page. You need to work as a team. You don't see the children as a burden. Okay, now at the same time, the children shouldn't divide you and your partner. They shouldn't come in between both of you. So balance is important. Before we got married, we talked about things, talked about children, how many children we wanted to have. We talked about how things will go. So even I tell the children from time to time, I say your mother was here before you, so she's number one first before you guys. All right, and they understand it. Sometimes they just come around and say, you and this your wife, my son will always say, why are you always talking with her? What are people always say? It's enough. I tell her, no, she was here before you. Okay, she's my baby, first baby before both of you came. So I think you just need to be flexible and then be open, because things might come up that we're not prepared for initially. What do you think?
All right. Another thing is that having children in the house automatically means your lifestyle has changed. That's one thing you need to understand as a married person. Now, I hear some people say they want to have privacies even as married, but especially with little children. I don't know how they go about it. It can be somewhere. I've heard, one time my son came, we shut the door, and he came, was knocking, open this door now. So you have to deal with those things. Sharing your husband or your wife with one tiny human, and most times they control you. In the middle of the night, he can come and say, I want to lie down here, and that's where he will lie down. So having to deal with all this and still keep your home sane is what is most important. Like I said, balance is important. Understand the place of the children, understand the place of your spouse in the home, and I think that's basically all.
Wow.
So there's no template. There's no one template for everybody. Okay, it depends on you. So that person, 20% may work for the person, but for some other person, it might be 80% today for the husband and 20% for the husband tomorrow. So you give attention to who needs attention, but always strike a balance.
Someone said that one of the reasons many couples, because I've even said it several times, not like in an assertive manner, but I just thought I had seen it several times, happen. Like you have couple who started together, like they were comfortable with each other, and then you see with time, because we all metamorphose, we change, we get maybe some better, some worse, I don't know, but I do know that we don't remain the same. And I get to the point that one couple begins to have a different ideology of life, you know what I mean, and the other one begins to see life in a different way. How do you marry it? How do you still live with that person? Because I know it's a very painful experience. For example, if you're growing, you're open-minded, and you're growing, you're learning things very fast, and then you have a spouse who is dragging behind. You want to do things and you talk and your spouse tells you, I don't know. I actually have a case of a friend who's currently separated from the wife. That is the case. You're seeing things in a different way, you're growing, and then the woman you're married to or the man you're married to is lagging behind. How do you do this? How do you still keep your marriage together? Because I think it causes a lot of grief and a lot of pain in your heart when you're like, this is how we want to go, and you're talking and you're pleading and you're like, this is, and the spouse refuses to see. So how do you handle this kind of issue?
I think the first thing is that every one of us should be open to expansion. We should be open to learning. Okay, we should be open to learning. Some people are fixed, like concrete. So they say, this is how we do it and this is how it must be.
Yes.
As it was in the beginning, it's now and ever shall be. That kind of mindset. But when you get married, you will need to be flexible. Okay, because circumstances which you were not prepared for will come. So you need to adjust. You need to learn new things. You need to open your mind. Okay, so what I would recommend for some people, if you discover that your spouse is probably not, going the way you want them to go, I think you should expose them. Sometimes knowledge does a lot to people. Knowledge changes things. So maybe give her a book to read, or you take her somewhere, she goes, and when she comes back, she becomes a different person. Sometimes you don't need to argue with people because you don't win arguments. But when you expose them, you're able to bring them to your level. Maybe make her watch a movie, or make him watch a movie, make them read a book, make them visit a place, a country, or a particular location, or make them meet somebody. Because when it's coming from you, they will resist it. It's you now, you, the ordinary you.
They are living with every day.
Spirit of sea finish, as somebody said. So, but when it's coming from another person, maybe they go for a conference and somebody is saying the same thing you have said before. They will come back and say it's a revelation. Meanwhile, it's that same revelation you have been declaring since, but because you are not an honored prophet. Alright, so I think that's it.
Okay, Mrs. Crystal.
Yeah, same thing like you said. I guess traveling or exposure expands your mind. It makes you see things from other people's lenses. Like you see things over the holiday that was within the Christmas and New Year break. We traveled and I came back with an expansion of mind, an expanded mind rather. You see things, you see the way people behave, and you discover that in your local area you are feeling like a champion. But I discovered that whatever you think you are, someone out there is better than you are. So I think when you are exposed, it gives you a platform to see that there are greater heights or there are better ways to think. So having to struggle with a partner that is not going your direction can be frustrating. It can. Especially when the person doesn't want to change. I hear some people who say, this is what and they stamp on it. So if you have that kind of a person, exposure, like you rightly said, is very, very key. It's very, very key. Then communication. Don't stop talking as much as possible. Just keep trying. Do your best. Then the little you can, if you can go out of your way to do it, just do it for the person.
It really sounds like an uphill task. Like it's pretty hard, pretty difficult. It might take quite a lot of effort to be able to bring somebody around to yourself. And it brings me to some other thing. Now for singles, let's talk about singles. We're talking about marriage and things. Let's talk about singles now. You have a guy who meets a lady, and then the guy has all the physical, like the guy's let's say even the guy's temperament. So the guy's temperament, not just physical, tallies, like it's exactly what you want. But the guy has this problem, this very problem we're talking about. He doesn't see, doesn't understand. And you're single, and you're mature, and you're thinking, hey, it's 38. What do I do? There are many people like that, you know that. And most of the time they say, make we manage them. Do you subscribe to that one? Make we manage them. And the guys, what do you call it, point of view in life. Maybe you're a hard worker, you're focused, and this same person is not expanding his knowledge, just like we talked about. Now, would you tell the lady, would you tell the guy, make we manage them since it's the time is, the clock is ticking?
Okay, I would not recommend management for a man or woman that want to marry. I can recommend management for business center, for jobs, a company. But when you're dealing with a human being, you're dealing with someone you need to be with for the rest of your life. So managing the person may seem like it is working at first, but over time, you discover that those 6 packs don't look so appealing anymore. They'll now be like one 2-pack. Thank you, Darren. You're right there. It'll be like 2-pack or 1 pack, 1 bread loaf. Or the pretty lady that she's everything, figure, curves, and everything. When it comes to a person's mind, not being ready to grow or expand, you won't see that beauty anymore. The only thing you'll be having is arguments. Otherwise, why do men argue with beautiful women? Why do men beat beautiful women? And you're wondering, and this woman has everything complete, as they say. Why do women, divorce their husbands who are wealthy and who have everything? They have the car, they have the company, they have everything, and they're okay. And so, from your own assessments outside, you are looking at these people. These people are complete. They're a perfect couple. It's the kind of couple I want. So, what is the problem? They'll tell you irreconcilable differences. Nobody has been able to define that thing to me till today. But I think this is what it is. Irreconcilable differences simply means your minds are not aligning. Somebody is either growing faster than the other one, or maybe one is not growing and you are not shifting ground. You're not ready to see things from the other person's perspective. You're not ready to be considerate. Okay, so it will happen like that. So I don't recommend management, honestly speaking, because a lot of people see most of the issues that marriage counselors resolve, or deliverance ministers and all that, is as a result of poor choices people have made. So if you make the right choices, you won't be managing for the rest of your life, going for prayer from house to house for people that have husbands with problems. You won't be solving that. Why don't you just choose right from the beginning? Yes, it might be painful, but ultimately it will be gainful.
Okay, before you go, I want to ask you this question. Can you change a man?
Nobody can be changed. Anybody that is not willing to change cannot be changed.
Okay, like some would say, the guy drinks, but when I marry him, I will make sure it doesn't drink.
What will you give him pap, or what will you put in his mouth? Want to give him injections?
I don't get it.
Maybe when they were in courtship, when she says, don't drink in my front, the guy will not say, I won't drink.
Package.
So is it possible to change that kind of man?
No, change comes from within. Until the person is willing to change, that's when the person changes. If the person sees reasons with you, for me, I would recommend, instead of managing in marriage, because age that counts right now will no longer count for you when you get married and you see this stuff. So instead of you to manage in marriage, I would rather you manage as friends. Give the person maybe a particular time frame and say, okay, between now and now, let me observe and see if this person can make an improvement. The person has to be willing. That's another point. The person has to be willing. The person sees it as a weakness and agrees to change. The person has to be willing before a change can begin in whatever aspect we talk about. So I think the person has to be willing first and change outside marriage, because marriage is...
So change first. You want to change before marriage.
Yes. Change before you get married.
Yes. There has to be that
and
willingness.
For some, they can actually act the script. You want me to be a nice guy? Yes. You want me to be a nice guy? I'll be all good for you until we get there.
Don't be saying that.
But you were saying ha. So me, I'm speaking for the ladies right now.
I'm speaking for everybody. I speak for the masses. I speak for the people.
All right, that's a good one. Thank you so much. But one final question. We're kind of out of time, but I'm still trying to drag it for a few minutes. But the thing is, I want to find out from you now. You've been married for a couple of years now, and I guess you've seen stuff to an extent. So for you, what are the best, like from your experience, what are the salient or the most important qualities that single people should look for before getting married to that person? What qualities do you think they should find?
Okay, marry your friend. Like I said, someone who you get along well with. Okay,
we get along with a lot of people.
No, not that way. Someone you feel you'll be able to spend the rest of your life with. Okay, marry
someone that does not irritate.
Okay, yeah, fine, yeah. Someone whose values align with yours. Okay, someone whose values align with yours. You have similar viewpoints, maybe religious viewpoints. I wouldn't recommend if I have these religious views, maybe I get married to somebody who has some other religious. It works for some people, but I would not recommend it. That's just they're just a small population of people.